What's up, guys? Happy Halloween and welcome back to CK Time. And today here with me are my friends to talk about spooky stuff. We're going to talk about different medias that, we find scary to us in the past. I don't need any more introductions. I am CK, of course, but, I'll let my friends introduce themselves.
I'm Vin.
I'm Jacob.
I'm Danny. How's it going, guys?
I guess I'll start off first, the story. The movie that really caught me when I was young was the movie Freaks from 1932. This movie is it's one of those black and white movies from the days where, classic television. This film, I remember watching on TV. It was like a rerun. And the story about it's kind of the premise of like the circus. So it's about the life of the circus, and definitely there's betrayal, revenge story. The one thing I remember, the scene that really kind of scared me, is probably iconic. A lot of people know the scene where they're at the dinner table and this trapeze artist, I believe, she is being initiated to the group of the circus members, and they all have some kind of like unique physical, disabilities in each one of them. And basically they initiate her into the group by making her drink this cup of wine and say basically one of us, like that chant.
Oh,
and
so that's where that comes from.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't realize that this film was very influential in pop culture and in other films. A lot of like The Simpsons reference it. A lot of other films talk about like one of us, and it's a classic. So this film was interesting. Like when they first filmed it, it had a longer runtime. But the problem is that there was a lot of difficult and dark scenes that they had to cut down to make the film more presentable. But even then, it was so controversial. This movie kind of ruined the director's career. And it was just controversial because, like, at the time, they used people who have disabilities as cast members, and they had a lot of issues with how they treat the cast members at the time. So it's a very important film. It's influential to a lot of media, and I know that there was a fun fact that in the UK they banned that movie for over 20 years, so you couldn't watch it. But now you can watch it on HBO Max, which I found out recently. I was like, wow. So,
not a sponsor.
Yeah, no sponsor.
Yeah, no sponsor, sadly. But maybe someday. Hit me up. But definitely, like, Freaks is a classic film. It actually was also initiated in the U.S. registry for like movies and films as well. It's like is a very important thing. But
yeah, historic national registry.
Yeah, that one. Yeah,
exactly. I think that's interesting what you're saying about how people got upset that they used actors with disabilities.
Yeah.
And obviously, if they were treating them poorly, that's problematic.
Yeah.
But today we have like the opposite issues where they get like fully abled actors to play disabled characters with disabilities.
Yeah.
And people are now upset about that. So it's interesting to see how things change.
It is an interesting point because in the film, like, the people with disabilities were treated wrongly by the female and the male character named Hercules. So, in the time, like, this whole revenge plot, it's basically trying to show, like, that they're being treated poorly in society. So, I think there are some people who take it as one of the first films that basically promotes equality for people with disabilities. Like, it was a very big thing because people were very disturbed, like, and they didn't understand what, like, the takeaway. But I definitely think it is a very classic film once you see it. I think if nobody has seen it, I feel like that's the one thing I recommend, just because it's just something that you don't see nowadays. Like, it's very visceral, I think. But that's me. I was a kid, I was like, wow, that truly messed me up when I saw the ending, because that ending was just so impacting. Like, they got their revenge in a very dark way. But yeah, so that's the first thing that really scared me.
All right, well, this might not be like a traditional horror movie, but I want to talk about Stuart Little for a minute here. I don't know, that terrified me as a child. Like, at least there was like two of them, but no one cares about Stuart Little 2.
What even happened in that one?
I don't remember. I just remember Stuart Little 1. There's this scene where he's like in the boat, and like I don't know if it was like the like main kid character's bully who was trying to drown him. There was something where he's like trying to escape from like a cat, and then he's on like a boat in the ocean, and I think someone's trying to drown him, and it might be like the bully of the main character. It's been years since I've seen this, but it always terrified me as a kid. Like, I didn't want to see people trying to kill this like anamorphic rat or whatever he was. And like the family was like, this is the child we're gonna adopt.
Right.
Like there was all those kids and they go for the mouse. The mouse is getting hunted and all this stuff. It's just weird. I don't know. There was a lot of movies from like that time period with like the main character was like the pet, basically a fully fledged family member. Not that like your dog isn't, but like they treated them like they were like a human family member, almost. And it's just always weird and like, why would you want to make movies have people hurting like pets and show them to kids? Like it seems like really dark. Yeah. Like I was way more upset about movies where like people were harming pets and when they were harming other people, because it was like people say things and you're like, wow, that guy deserves to get punched in the face. But like, what did like Beethoven the dog do to deserve whatever happens in his movie? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. That one weirded me out. No Stuart Little, never again. If I have kids, it's banned. Banned in the household. Yeah, so that was like the big one I thought of when you texted me, being like, hey, find like a movie that scared you as a kid and let's talk about it.
Yeah, right.
First thing in my mind, Stuart Little.
So the movie that kind of really freaked me out as a child would be Spirited Away. I was watching it because my sister, who's a couple years older than me, she's watching it with some of her older friends, and I think I just so happened to be in the room with them watching it. And there's just so many creepy creatures in that. There's the witch with the really like exaggerated features. There's the little like dust mites, I think they're called soot sprites, and those like would all as a group just kind of crawl and like creep across the floor. Is just, but the scene that really freaked me out was the first time she saw her parents after they turned into literal pigs, and the slow turn, like it were revealed that was actually her parents. That one, that freaked me out as a kid. I think it gave me nightmares for a little bit, but
definitely scared me as a kid too.
Wait, was this marketed as kids movie?
I mean, it's an animated film from that time period, which it's a Miyazaki film, so it's gonna be a little weird. But like that, the style of the drawing is kind of aimed towards children, and it's not actually scary nowadays. Like obviously, once you're an adult, it's more just creepy in a way.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I think they're more marketed as like a family movie. Like it's okay for kids to watch.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, like there is a habit of like animated movies that are made outside the U.S. and even some made in the U.S. that everyone just assumes, oh, this is a kid's movie, and like it's really not. Like is it like Watership Down?
Yeah, Watership
the one with
Down
like the really scary like rabbits.
Yeah, Watership Down is an iconic film it was made in the UK. It's like it's very visceral. Like the cartoon is super graphic. Like there's a lot of violence and death between the rabbits because they're trying to move from one home habitat to another. And they meet like other groups of rabbits and other like animals that will kill them, and it's very gruel and dark. And a lot of people just don't realize that it looks like a cartoon like for kids on the outside, but on the inside it's like hell. It's super disturbing.
I've never seen it, but I've seen so many things like on Reddit or wherever else when people are like, "What movie scarred you as a kid?" And everyone's answer is always Watership Down. They're like, my mom rented it for me from the video store, and I was never the same again.
Yeah.
I was like,
I think that's the problem with like foreign animation, because most American animated films are a little more aimed towards children. A lot of them are more cute, friendly, kind of good messages, whereas animated ones in other countries, it's kind of all over the place. You'll get some kids films, but they have a lot of animated stuff that are directed towards adults.
Yeah.
And
like
anime gets a bad rap for that kind of stuff.
Here in the U.S., there's just that stigma that if it's animated, it's for kids.
Yeah.
In Japan, it's different because animation it's used all the way back, even like I guess in the U.S. as well, like propaganda. It's also used for like war times to get people to like enlist, and nowadays it's used for like so many things. Like in Japan, like it's a lot of messages, and I think Spirited Away definitely was one of those films that was just it was just different from the other Miyazaki films. Like it was very more into the spiritual lore of their like mythology, especially like yokai and spirits.
And some of those were just creepy creatures, just amalgamation of weird looking, spirits, and it's just a little freaky to see as a child.
But,
Yeah,
especially No Face. That's an iconic one for sure.
I mean, the amount of anime they censor when they come to America, like Dragon Ball Z, when they just like clearly supposed to be coughing up blood, but they're just like, huh, and like nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing spews out.
Nothing.
And it's so bizarre.
Or when the blood ends up pink.
Or green.
White.
Or white.
Yeah.
Just any color.
somehow white is probably worse than red.
Yeah, 'cause it's like disturbing. It's like what's inside their bodies.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, or like I think it was One Piece that they brought to America, and they put on like 4Kids,
Oh, yeah.
and I think everyone knows how awful 4Kids is. So they like had to cut out so many things and like shorten it. There was so much they had to cut out. I think it was like the 100 episodes they were supposed to like dub over became like 60 episodes because they cut so much content. Yeah, the American view of animation is a little problematic compared to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I think 4Kids was the one who cut out the guns in Yu-Gi-Oh! So they're just finger pointing at him, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I still was not allowed to watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Though. My mom still thought it was too violent.
God, I love Yu-Gi-Oh! I watched as a kid, and there was also the fun fact, like the Shadow Realm. I think in Japan was not a thing. Like it was basically just sending people to their deaths. But basically, straight up kill people.
Yeah.
But then they're just like, we need to send them somewhere and just to get them like get rid of them. So the Shadow Realm. So that's a fun fact. Like the Shadow Realm was just created in America. Like it wasn't really a thing in Japan. Like
They're not dead. They're just
Unless
the
they went to
Shadow Realm.
hell.
Yeah.
And hell is the Shadow Realm. But
That's implied.
Right.
honestly, that's almost worse though. Like, oh, they got sent to the Shadow Realm. Like, you gotta live in the Shadow Realm now. Like, that sounds scarier than dying.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of nothing. Like,
Yeah.
There's like souls lost in there, and they're like consume you. It's such a strange
Dude,
concept.
okay. If we're on, like, trying to censor things because you can't show, like, gore in kids' movies, The Lion King, it always scared me. Spoilers for, like, this 25-year-old movie, if you haven't seen it. At, like, the end of The Lion King, like, Scar is, like, cornered by his hyenas, and, like, they clearly kill him, but they just show, like, the shadows of him, like, jumping on him, and, like, that terrified me as a kid. I would have rather they just showed them, like, slash him to death or something. Because then it just leaves it to the imagination, which is worse.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. There's certain things that they're like, we can't show this because it'll, like, we'll have to make it, like, PG or PG-13 instead of G, but it's, like, more disturbing when you don't show it because, I mean, kids aren't stupid.
Yeah.
No, I think the main issue there isn't that they think this is better. It's just that's how they keep the rating they want.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's But someone has decided that is better. That is more appropriate. Because someone came up with the ratings.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Lion King definitely shocked a lot of kids in the theaters when they first watched it. I think I heard that a lot of parents had to like take their kids out, like, because they couldn't handle the death of Mufasa. That was just something that was just like, I think people of that age who watched it still remember. It's like a trauma thing, but
There's a lot of Disney films that had.
like Bambi too. Like God.
Oh my god, yeah, would they like shoot the mom?
Yeah.
You know, Land Before Time, the first one?
Oh,
Have you guys seen Land Before Time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Not
like
a long time, but
The T-Rex kills the mom.
Yeah.
Spoilers once again for the 25-year-old movie.
It's like in the first 5 minutes of the film, like she dies, and it's like so depressing.
No, the scariest though was, and it comes out of nowhere, is Fantasia, Night on Bald Mountain.
Oh yes, that one's iconic. It's very nightmare fuel. It's
Like the whole movie is kind of trippy with like the whole alligator dancing scene, all that stuff. But then it just gets really dark
yeah.
for like 10 minutes, and then it's not again. But yeah,
It's truly a masterpiece in animation.
oh, it is. But it's just like,
It is spooky.
who thought that was?
Yeah.
Who thought that was a good idea?
Yeah. Old Disney movies definitely were really really scary back then, especially like the art style. I mean that movie, that's a classic. If you haven't seen Fantasia, like that scene is so good. But yeah, if you're too young, then I don't know if you should watch it.
Actually, there is stuff on Disney Plus that like they have warnings now.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like there's some content where it's just flat out offensive.
Yeah.
But I think there's other things where they're like, this was given a G rating back in the day, but like may not be appropriate for all ages. I'm pretty sure Because like some of the early shorts, like there's one based on like a Greek myth where like some girl gets taken to like hell, and like it would be kind of freaking weird if you were a little kid. So I do think they have some warnings on that now, thankfully.
Yeah, definitely. If you ever see those films, like I remember when I was a kid, I used to watch Los Tres Caballeros. That film, like I have it on VHS, and I watched it, and I was like, okay, it's trying to teach people like Spanish culture, but also it was kind of weird because like Donald is like super thirsty for these Latino women.
Wait. Is it Donald Duck?
Yeah, Donald Duck.
And were these human women? Or
yes,
like
human women. Like real life action. It's a real life action. Like it's basically they have cartoon 2D drawings, have it overlay with like real people.
So it's it's like Space Jam.
Yeah, it's like Space Jam.
Oh, this is weird.
Yeah, and basically he dances with the girls. They have like huge music numbers where they're like listening to samba music or basically very like all these Spanish music. But at the same time, like Donald learns about Mexican culture or Latino culture. At the same time, pursuing these beautiful women for every country.
All right, well, that's disturbing.
Yeah. So that one's a really interesting film. You haven't seen Los Tres Caballeros in Disney Plus, but definitely have a warning sign in the beginning because it's kind of offensive. So
not scary, but
no, not scary, but interesting.
Disturbing, maybe.
Yeah.
But we can always digress and go back to the spooky topic. So.
Why don't we change gears a bit? We've all been talking about movies, but you know what scared me as a kid? Sonic and Knuckles.
Oh.
No, hear me out.
Okay.
There was a specific area in the game, Sandopolis Zone Act 2. Like, you know those ghosts in that area?
No, because I don't think I ever got that far.
Oh, you scrub.
I was not very good. Like, I beat Sonic 2 somehow. I think because they had it on the PS2 game, so you could just, like, make, like a quick save. So like if I like lost, I could like go back, but I did manage to beat it through like the not hardcore way. But I don't think I ever got that far in Sonic and Knuckles.
No shame. Like I'm pretty sure that's how I beat Sonic 2 the first time as well. You
Fair
pretty
enough.
much need to have quick saves for the final boss. But yeah, back to Sonic and Knuckles. In Sandopolis Zone Act 2, we go inside of this pyramid, and it's a pretty normal Sonic level for the first couple minutes. And then you go up like a loop, and you drop down onto one of those capsules, like that you release animals from normally at the end of a zone. But instead of animals, it's ghosts. And then they just start floating around at the top of the screen. And they're always there, just waiting to attack you. The lights slowly get dimmer and dimmer, and they keep having to flip switches as you go through the zone to like keep them like calm.
Oh.
But if you're not fast enough,
Wow.
well...
Sonic can outspeed light, but he can't outspeed the skeletons in his closet.
Yeah, this could be a good creepypasta.
Yeah, I always dreaded going through that level replaying that game.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of creepypastas and video games, the Lavender Town creepypasta. You guys are all aware of that one, right?
That's a
I think I've read it
Yeah.
previously. Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't know what that is, we shouldn't spoil it.
Right.
You should go read up the Pokemon Lavender Town creepypasta. Make sure to do it before you go to bed.
Play the music.
Yeah.
The proper way to do it.
And that should be your intro and outro for this episode. The
Yeah.
Lavender Town thing.
Honestly, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
gonna do
edit that in.
I'll edit it in. For sure. Yeah, and then so let's go back to like another movie idea, because like another movie that really got me as a kid when I was watching, I guess, I don't know, maybe I was a little bit older, but I did watch Pan's Labyrinth by Guillermo del Toro. That film really confused me, because when I was young, obviously when I went through the film, it's kind of like in a foreign language. It is in, I think, Spanish, maybe, because it's set in Europe, like during the Spanish War. And basically in this movie, like, you're going through the life of this young girl who is like, her dad's like a military officer, and she's basically going through and meeting this mystical creature. I think it's supposed to be like the Greek Pan, the half goat man. So basically she goes through like all these strange world where she meets like him, and I think the whole premise, I'm trying to guess here, is like he's trying to make her into like his queen or bride in this like strange story. But it's very, very confusing, because there's scenes where she goes like into like this this place, and the place that really spooked me the most, I'm sure a lot of people could remember, is the Pale Man scene. So they call this creature the Pale Man because he's like basically all white. And she goes in this place and she knows the rules. Like, it's like a beautiful lavish banquet table with food, and there's this thing that the pixie fairies that told her like that you cannot touch whatever it's on that table. Like, don't touch, don't eat. But she's a young girl and she was just trying to be mischievous, I think, and she just grabbed something off there and she touched something.
Yeah, I think it was like a single grape or something.
Yeah, like a tiny fruit, and then it woke him, and he basically had these eyeballs that were sitting on his plate. And he basically puts them inside his hand so he can see. So when he walks around, he does this so he can see. So he basically tries to chase her down this hallway, and basically she tried to get out by this small hole, but the Pale Man didn't get to the girl, but basically consumed one of the pixies and ate it, and it was just so gruesome. And that scene really kind of disturbs me because he kind of walks in this very like crooked way, like.
Wait, hold on. Did he have a head?
Yeah.
Why didn't you just put the eyes in his head?
Well,
there are no holes.
He has no holes in his face is like all.
But he had like holes in his hands.
Yeah, and basically that's how he can see. But yeah, the Pale Man, that was one of the iconic like horrifying scenes because Pan's Labyrinth. God, there's a lot of like strange like design, and honestly, the costume design is super good. The way it looks so realistic, and they got like the guy.
I mean, it's Del Toro. That's what you expect from him.
Yeah, he did a good job, but it definitely was a very disturbing scene. But yeah, the Pale Man also, like the scene when eating the pixies and fairies, like that scene was supposed to be based on an artwork by Francisco Goya, I think. It's called like the Saturn eating his son.
Yeah.
Oh, the famous.
Yeah, that one is definitely very nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
But it's a recognizable one. Definitely good taste, but. Yeah, Pan's Labyrinth. If you guys haven't seen it already, definitely recommend it. It's definitely one of those really unique films by Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah. Funny thing about that movie is, remember going to the video store as a kid?
Mm-hmm.
Man, that makes me feel old. But yeah, I'd see that movie on the shelves, and they'd always have a sign next to it saying, "This is not suitable for children."
Yeah.
Like, apparently they had an issue with everyone thinking that was a children's movie for some reason.
Yeah, I think people think because the word pan, when you look at on like Google, or it's always like relate to Peter Pan. I think a lot of people get confused with that.
I don't know.
Also,
I feel
it's like a
the
fantasy
box art
movie.
would kind of give it away though. It's
Yeah.
pretty dark.
It's very dark. I'm like, I don't know if this is considered horror exactly or thriller, but it's definitely like fantasy horror. Like, yeah, it's very. I don't know. It's hard to watch the first time. I think you have to rewatch it to like truly appreciate it and analyze it more. But.
Also, like, I think pre-Lord of the Rings, there was another assumption that a lot of fantasy stuff was, like, for kids.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like,
I can see
knights and
that.
magic. And then after Lord of the Rings, I think there was a lot more, like,
Yeah.
this can be for adults, too.
Yeah.
At least the
Dark
Lord of the
fans.
Rings movies. Of course, the
Yes.
books have been around for years.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, like, after Lord of the Rings, then we got
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones happen. And, like, even Harry Potter, which started off very, like, for kids, got a lot darker.
Yeah. Although I feel like that was kind of just growing up with the audience.
Well, yeah, and growing up with the character. But still, yeah, I think pre, like, the whole Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings thing, fantasy was very much viewed as, like, good for kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's popular. Like like fantasy, you think of. I guess like in the past, in the old days, you watch like Last Unicorn or something like that. Those are like old classic like fantasy films.
Or even like the old Peter Pan, Robin Hood.
Yeah, like Robin Hood.
Similar design. It's not that it isn't violent, but it's still clearly like something a kid can watch, and it's not too dark.
Nowadays, people start to look at the true history behind like medieval times because like it was not very pleasant. A lot of strange things they do.
Historical fact: Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the dragons they had back in the
pick one.
back in the 1700s
Maybe they
or
lived.
1600s.
No.
I remember the History Channel once had a show, I think it was History Channel, about like how dragons might have actually existed.
Yeah.
Along with the aliens that built the pyramids.
Dude.
That was its own thing.
Aliens.
The aliens built the dragons. Who built the pyramids?
Now you're getting there.
Yeah. I feel like there was another animated movie I saw as a kid. I can't for the life
Describe
of me.
it all.
I never saw it, but the Black Cauldron.
Yep. Black
Do you remember the
Cauldron.
commercial? I saw commercials for
Yeah.
it. I don't actually know anyone who'd seen it, but I think everyone like had seen the commercials. And they look kind of creepy. They have like the Horned King.
Yeah, the Horn King.
Apparently in like Disney World Japan,
Mm-hmm.
they're in like the castle. Apparently they have like Cinderella's like mystery tour, according to my sister. And apparently lots of people bring their kids, but then in the basement is the Black Cauldron, and like the Horned King is in it.
Yeah.
And apparently it's terrifying.
It is. It's definitely was a thing in the past. Like Japan had this the Black Cauldron as a kind of like a amusement kind of thing. So what they do is they bring all these kids and like their parents together, and then they have like a tour guide person who basically reenacts the story and tells the story of the protagonist, and then like shows certain villains like who existed in the past. And basically the Horn King is trying to bring back his army of the dead. And so basically the tour guide had to tell kids and the people to, you know, come along and go further down into the basement. And basically, in the end, you had to vanquish the Horn King with this magical sword thing. And basically, once whoever wins, like when they win, they give like, I guess like medals of honor, something like that, to just some kids who they deem worthy. But basically, this was an old like thing, attraction back then in Japan. But you can't find it anymore. But it's a cool and dark amusement like attraction back then with Disney. That's a cool fact. The Black Cauldron is pretty dark.
Speaking Disney, have you guys heard the conspiracy theories about Disney being frozen, his body,
Yep.
and the whole like they made the movie Frozen just to cover up all the Google searches? But like
That's brilliant.
Disney has enough money that they could have just paid every search site out there to like
Yeah.
make sure that anything about Disney's body being frozen was. So I don't really buy that. But
What if you make a movie, then you can make money off the movie.
This is
so
true.
win-win.
yeah, that's a good point. And it is like one of their biggest movies,
Yeah.
at least of like the past decade or so.
Everyone's sick of the songs. I think that tells you how popular it is.
Yeah,
It's true.
it wasn't a bad movie.
No,
But
it wasn't
honestly,
bad.
the hype spoiled it. I was surprised. Spoilers for like a almost decade old movie now. They killed off the parents real fast.
Yeah.
Like most Disney films, they really let it build up. Like with Mufasa, like really build it up. And this one, it's like opening like 5 minutes. They don't even speak. They're just gone. Yeah. I was like, wow, Disney's really picking up the pace here. Now, everyone knows it's coming, so they're like, all right, we just gotta get it over with.
Pretty sure I remember seeing somewhere that his body is indeed frozen, just not necessarily for the conspiracy reasons. I forgot the exact reason.
Why else would you freeze his body?
Just to preserve it.
Why would you want to preserve his body?
Because it's Walt Disney.
It's the man.
What are they gonna do with it?
Stuff.
I don't think you'd want to know.
He's probably waiting to.
It's not for your understanding.
They're building Mecha Walt Disney. That's what's happening. They're building Mecha Walt Disney to come back, and then we're gonna need Wolfenstein to come out and take down all of his minions, save the world from Mecha Walt Disney.
It's true.
I mean, there's plenty of good creepypastas out there. Like Jeff the Killer was a good one. What was the one you mentioned earlier?
No, Lavender Town.
Yeah, Lavender Town.
That
There's
was
the Majora's Mask one.
Yeah, Ben drowned.
Ben Drowned. Yeah.
yeah.
Ben Drowned.
Sonic.exe.
Oh, Sonic.exe is so good.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
You guys remember Slender Man?
yeah.
Do you remember it?
And
Was
the
it?
games, yeah.
Yeah, and no, there was like the actual like two girls who. I don't know if they actually killed someone, but they tried
They
to
did.
kill.
Well, no,
Oh, wait.
she lived.
No, she did survive.
She survived, but
She
they tried to
survived.
kill their friend who.
Because they believe Slenderman told them to.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like,
Something like that.
was that in Wisconsin?
Yeah, it happened in Wisconsin.
Yeah, that was terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely, I think, right now they're reviewing her. One of the people, one of the girls who did stab her. They're reviewing her case now to see if she should. I don't know. Maybe her sentence is almost up, but definitely happened a while ago. It's crazy.
Did any of you actually play the game?
No.
I've only ever seen people play
I
it
watched-
on YouTube.
I watched
Yeah.
gameplay.
I've seen footage of it, but that one's not that terrifying or anything.
It's
The
definitely
character's
like
a little creepy, but that's
Just jump
it.
scares.
Yeah, that's one of those streamer bait video games.
Like Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
those classic.
Five Nights at Freddy's wasn't scary.
Yeah.
I remember people played in the lounge freshman year. And I don't know if they were just like hemming it up to be scary, just like to have fun.
Yeah.
But like several people in the lounge seemed to be like acting really freaked out.
Yeah.
But it was just, I guess,
it's all about the
handle
jump scares.
yeah. And I guess like with all of them acting all weirded out, like maybe I just knew things must be coming, so it didn't scare me. But
Yeah, it's a big franchise now.
Yeah, isn't it still going on?
Still going on. There's a ton of books. There's like a virtual version. There's like the VR one, and there's like always another game. And they also thought about making a movie, but that I don't think is working out.
I don't know how you could turn that into a movie.
Yeah, but there is a movie that's kind of like that. It's the one that's called like Willy's Wonderland. I think it's one with Nick Cage in it. It's on HBO Max, I believe.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored. Or it's Hulu. It's either one or the other, because it's the one where Nick Cage beats up animatronics. So
Oh, okay.
it's supposed to be like a thriller, but it's Nick Cage, so
That definitely sounds like a Nick Cage movie.
yeah. It's pretty fun if you want to just watch something with Nick Cage. But overall, yeah, finance.
they're in my eyes. The bees are in my eyes.
Not the bees.
Not the bees.
Nick Cage is a true artist in his craft.
He's a treasure.
He's a national treasure.
There you go. There you go.
I set it up.
There it is. Man. But yeah, it looks like we went over and definitely like, reminisce the good old days with the horrors that could still plague us to this day. I can still remember those, that Pan's Labyrinth still. But, let me know if you guys also have anything, other stories that you remember that scared you. But I'm so glad you all can come here today with me, talk about spooky times and even fun stuff like Disney.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, and if these guys will probably be back sometime. We'll talk about other things, but I hope you guys enjoy our content, and if you like it, please like and subscribe, of course. Share as well. So hopefully you guys stay safe out there on Halloween. Let me know what you're going to dress up as well, if you want to. But otherwise, definitely we'll see you the next time. Bye.
Bye.